we go. All right. So we're finishing up our summer series today with our Thursday forms. We are continuing our Thursday forms sessions into the fall, just so you know. I kind of like this. I think it's important to cover forms, to go over them, and so that everybody kind of has a basis, as well as since we record everything, it gives you a video you can always go back and rewatch. So if you have a transaction that comes up and you need a BXE form or a CR or whatever, and you're wondering or have questions about it, it gives you a place you can go to reference. So I think it's a good plan. So we're going to continue this into the fall. Today is open Q&A. So if anybody has any questions about the car forms, a specific form, the car forms library, anything like that, you can feel free to open, or I can cover some random things as well that I've been playing around with and have come across over the last couple weeks. So does anybody have any questions?
Me.
Yes.
So I was looking at the contingency removal form
Okay.
and no, not the contingency removal form, sorry. The form that you hand the buyers notice to perform.
Okay.
So I noticed that it only has like a day. It doesn't have a time on there. Like most forms I feel say like by 5 p.m. like the standard thing says.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of them have a time on there. So if you give somebody a notice to perform and it's, within 2 days or whatever day that you put on there, at what part of the day does it count?
Midnight. They have until 11:59 a.m. or p.m. to perform based on that notice to perform. So if we served it on Monday, they would have all day Tuesday and all day Wednesday until 11:59 to perform, and then come 12 a.m. or 12:01 you can cancel the contract.
So the following day, basically.
Yep.
If you were, okay. Unless
Yep.
you're like Amy, and you're up at 3 a.m. and then you send them the cancellation.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Okay, got it. That's good clarification because that one I did not see a time. So I was wondering.
Yeah, that one, there is no time on that, but they do have until the full end of the day, and they get the 2 full days. So the day that you serve it doesn't count. It's the next 2 days is what counts as the performance days.
Oh, okay, got it. So they could technically have like 2.5 days
They could.
if we served it. Got it. So it doesn't matter what time of the day you serve it. So
Nope.
so let's say today, like I was gonna give somebody a notice to perform and I sent it at 10 p.m. Or is it
Yep.
no, because it wasn't during the day and they
It
need to
doesn't
see
matter.
it?
Doesn't matter.
So if you
They
send it, okay,
Yep.
got it.
With the old rules, it would be you would have to wait until it was received and acknowledged by the other agent. But with the new rules that came out, I don't know, year and a half ago, it's electronic delivery. So they've opted on that purchase agreement for what it counts as electronic delivery on their email addresses or whatnot. And so it's as long as you have proof that you sent it, they don't have to actually receive it. It's from the time that you actually hit send and send it over to their box. So yeah, it's whenever you send it.
Okay, got it. So that's good to know then.
Yep. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Well, because if you guys have any questions, just feel free to ask away. I'm gonna show you a few things. Number one, I'm gonna show you MLS Connect again, just because there may be some new agents on here that haven't seen it. So I'll show you that, and I'm gonna pull up Barry so that I can have an MLS number. So give me just a second, and then I'm going to share my screen. Maybe there we go. All right, so now we have screen sharing, although it's the wrong screen. So let me get it on the right screen. There we go. All right. And then I'll show you how to do MLS Connect again. And the MLS was down for so long, we could have all forgotten how to do that anyways. I can't believe the MLS was down for 19 days.
19 days? I knew it was like almost 2 weeks, but I didn't know it was over. Wow.
It was over. It was 19 days. And it's still
They
not
should give
back
us
yet.
credit. They should give us no, because even our app is still not technically all there yet. They should give
The
us credit
app's
for
not all
2
there.
months.
The photos aren't all there. Trying to run comps right now is kind of difficult because you can't see what any of the properties look like that have closed previously.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There's even people that need to reinstall their photos.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
they're-
they said that if you've got an active listing, you should reinstall your photos, not wait for the placeholders. But if it's already closed, then you're
Some
just to
people
have to
aren't
wait.
even updating their stuff either, because I have people calling me like, "Oh, it says active still," and I'm like, "It's not." I called the agent, and the agents are not updating their stuff.
All right. So I just pulled an MLS number. I just picked one out of the bunch over here. Now I'm going to hop back over to Zip Form. So if you were creating a new transaction for a purchase transaction, and I'll show you some other really cool things that I've come across recently. You're just going to come up here. You're going to log in the Zip Forms. You're going to hit new purchase or offer. It's going to give you the opportunity up here. Normally for my purchases, I normally name it like the last name of my buyer. So it'd be like Miller. I'm just gonna call it sample purchase because it's not a real one. Let's see. So I would just name it like Miller purchase or something like that, right? So I'm just picking a random last name, but it'd be the last names of my clients. I do that because I'm going to utilize this for whatever offers we submit. Like I'm going to draw up an offer, we're going to submit it. It doesn't get accepted for whatever reason. I'm going to use the same file again until we get an offer accepted. And I don't have to worry about overwriting any of the forms because it saves the signed version of the forms in my file. So that's not a big deal. But anyways, this blue MLS Connect, if you click on that, it's going to pull up a new window, which allows you to plug in your username and password here for your MLS, so for Barry's or whatnot. And then you put in the listing ID. I usually click the box for include property photo, and then you hit the little green find button. What's really cool about this is it pulls all the details over. I had to actually draw up an offer while the MLS was down, and it was really inconvenient that I had to enter all the information in myself. So anyways, I love this. So anyways, find, I include the property photo. So I verify like, yes, that's the listing. Yes, this is the correct address. Once I've got everything, I'm going to hit use listing. And then I'm going to click that this is a residential property. Technically, it's like farm and ranch, but we're just going to put residential. And I always leave it as active. It's going to automatically apply my single family regular purchase because I've chosen residential. If I had chosen like condo or farm and ranch, I could have different templates set up for those scenarios where it would pull over like maybe like the septic, well, propane and monument inspection form over, or if it was a vacant land, it would pull the vacant land purchase agreement. So you can set up different templates for that. And then you just hit save. And now it's going to apply that and open it for you. So super cool there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to open up that new forms editor. Oh, and just before we do that, just so you know, if in fact, maybe we submitted an offer on this property, it didn't get accepted. Now we're coming in here to write a new offer. You can come back up here to MLS Connect, click on it. It's going to pop up a new window. Let me figure out what I did with that Barry's window. Hold on, I'll pick a different property. We're just going to highlight that one. Okay, so I just came up here, hit MLS Connect. Now I can plug in the new listing ID for the new property that we're going to submit a offer on. I click the box for include property photo. I hit find. Here it pulled up that photo and the listing information so I can verify it's accurate. keep in mind that if you're doing it on a lot or something else, you may need to go there, or if it's the mobile home, like in a park, you may need to select that listing type. So it's searching the MLS for the correct listing type. So if you're having problems, it could be that is your error there. And then you're going to hit import. And then it's going to say, hey, do you want to replace existing data with the imported data? And you want to hit yes. And now it's going to take that old listing that we already submitted an offer on and erase it. And it's going to pull in all the details for the new listing. So that's how you can like just move forward and keep pulling in new listing data to write your offers. Any questions about that MLS Connect?
Hi, Amy, Claudia. I have a question regarding that. So you already
Yeah.
submitted an offer, like you have all the contingencies, all of the terms in place. It stays exactly the same, just changes the property address?
It just changes the property address, correct?
Okay, nice.
And again, if anybody has any other questions about forms or whatever, it's open Q&A. So I was just, spending time showing you guys maybe some things that you may not be aware of. So that.
Wait, Amy,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what do you use that for?
So the MLS Connect, I utilize it if I'm going to write an offer. So when I've got a new buyer ready to write an offer, I initially, when I create the file, go in there and hit MLS Connect and pull the listing information over. And I'll show you here in a second. Here, let's go into documents. And then let me select, I'll show you why. And then if we, that offer is not accepted, we go to write another offer. Oh, my template didn't pull any documents in. That's so sad. All right, let's pull in. Oh, it says there are. Interesting. It says they're in there, but it's not in there. Let me try removing it. There we go. All right. I don't know why it says it's in there. Oh, it hates me. It hates me. All right, let's go
So when you
into-
create a new transaction, you don't do new transaction and then choose whether it's a listing or a purchase. You just go to the MLS Connect for your, like when you do it yourself.
No, so if it was like I was working with a new client, then I'm going to go in there and create a file, usually like their last name and then purchase. So like, Bell purchase or Miller purchase or Cuva, whatever it might be. And then I would select MLS Connect. But if that initial offer didn't get accepted, then I would use the same file again for that same buyer to write a new offer. So I would pull in the new listing data. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So like when you look at my transaction list, I would have like, if it's a listing, it's usually the address. And if it's a purchase, then it's usually got like last name purchase. And if the Robinson purchase was going to go in there and write another offer, I would just open that file. And then I would pull in the new property information for the new offer and then just go in there and revise it and make sure it was accurate with the current offer that we're submitting. So I use one file per client. All right, let's see if now that I closed out, if it's going to show me my documents. There we go. All right. So now if I go in here and hit open forms editor, or I could have double clicked on the form too. The nice thing about the new forms editor is if I wanted to edit all those forms at the same time, in fact, let's go back. Hold on. So with the old Zip Forms editor, you used to only be able to edit one form at a time, right? You have to open it up, edit it, close out, open the next one. It was really cumbersome and clunky. But with the new one, if I want to come in here, my template applied, my purchase template applied several documents to this file. And so if I wanted to revise not just the California residential purchase agreement, but maybe the statewide buyer seller, the market conditions, and the wildfire, and the additional agent, and then we have like the RogFox PG&E. I did it twice. Anyways, so if I wanted to edit all those at the same time, I can check those boxes and hit open forms editor. It's going to open the new forms editor and it's going to pull all those forms in at one time for me to edit. Oh, that's right. That PG&E one isn't what it says it is. And if I wanted to eliminate one, so here's my list of forms here in this white column. that are currently in this transaction that I can edit. If I wanted to take one out, it's really easy. We just come over here and hit the little X and it removes it from the workspace. Or if you wanted to add a form, if it's already in your transaction, you can come down here, grab it, drag it up into your workspace, and it'll add that one in. Or you can come up here and hit the little blue add button. And then you can go to the forms library. Number one, it gets some suggested forms. So maybe you want to add the buyer contingency removal. We could add it there, or you could go into the forms library and you could select either old libraries or like your California Association of Realtors library, and you could find that form. You can search for it here. Like if I wanted the contingency removal, you can add it there. Or if you wanted to upload something, that's the other option. So maybe you have a form, maybe the listing has a form that it wants you to include with your offer. Maybe they already have like an addendum of things that are included or not included, or maybe they have like something there that they want you to sign. Maybe you're signing the cover sheet for their HomeLight listing management file to acknowledge that your buyer has seen those disclosures. You can click upload and you can hit browse files, or you can drag and drop it into this folder, and that allows you to pull that information over into your file and put it in there. So super handy there, where you can add any sorts of form and then you can edit them all at the same time. Now with the MLS Connect, circling back to that, if we come down here to the end, it's pulled just so you know too, side note, if you want to rearrange, like if right now it's got the statewide buyer and seller advisory first, I can rearrange the order in which these show up so that the residential purchase agreement is now first. So you just drag those 6 little dots that are on the side, click them, pull them, and then drag them around to reposition them in a different location. And you can reorder those documents. So see here, because it's my template, it automatically pulls my information over because I've got it set to do that inside of the template. And then if we keep scrolling down, it's also pulled over the seller's brokerage information. So the listing agent brokerage, because we did that MLS Connect, it pulled that information out of the MLS and has put it into my form, which means I don't have to hand type that information into the form. Magic, right? So that's why what?
I said sweet, because then you have to like
Sweet.
toggle back and forth between their email, their number, their name.
Yep. So it pulls all that information over. It also pulls over all the property information here. So it's got the full address of the property as it was entered into the MLS. So that gets pulled over. So you don't have any typo errors there. It pulls over, like it's even got the APN number here. Magic. It even pulled the county over, which it used to not do that, but it even pulled the county over today. So they're working on updating that. So it makes it super easy then to submit the offers. Now, the only thing that it doesn't pull over is the seller's information, so that you would want to go back to the MLS. I was like, which one did I click on? Number one, if they have a disclosure file, you can always look at the disclosures. That's the most accurate information of the seller. This one's got some attached documents. So let's see what's there. Oh, it's got the disclosure URL package. So that's going to be your best way to get the seller of record, how the listing agent has it on record and how they want it on their form. So if we go to the disclosures URL, it's going to open this. Right? So that's going to be the easiest way to track it down. We would put in our information there. If you haven't ever used HomeLight Listing Management, I love it. It's my favorite. You would put, I'm an agent, put your name and your email. See if I can, I have to put my phone number. All right. Oftentimes it should be, you can also share it with your clients. If you share it with your clients, the listing agent does not get your client's information. Just so you know, it's only shared directly with you, not with them as well. So you can put your client's information in there. They'll get a link so they can go in there and view these disclosures. I do recommend doing that at some point, especially if you're going to submit an offer and they do have disclosures in here. I'm going to hit submit for now. Now it's saying, hey, check your email. If I go in there and log in to home, actually, I think I cleared my cookies the other day, so now it's all, I have to click on everything and re-log into everything. So sad. But if I log into this, it should, hopefully it's set up to automatically give me access to the file. So when you have a home listing management file, you can set it up to automatically give you access or give other agents access, or that you have to approve them. Don't approve them. It's just going to waste your time. Just set it to automatically give them access. So now if I come in here and I go for buyers, so at the top, it has listings or buyers. So if I click on buyers, here's that property. Because I'm registered with this email address that I put into that info box, it gives me automatically, has given me access to that buyer file. If my buyer decides we're not going to submit on that property, I can just hit leave. So like this one, I could just come in here and hit leave. Yes, leave the package. And then it takes it off my desktop there, so I don't see it anymore. But if I want to look at it from here, you can also share it with your buyers, or you can share it with other members of your team if you have another agent or a transaction coordinator. But here's the documents that we have: the preliminary title report, the CC&Rs, right? So it's a whole disclosure package that we're looking at. I'm going to pull up that transfer disclosure statement. Here's where you can find the names of the sellers. So it's Jessica A. Flores and Eder A. Flores would be the seller. So I would want to put that into my Zip Forms transaction. So that's one way to track down the names of the sellers. You don't need it on the RPA until the end, but let's come up here. So, right, so we have go seller name one. All right, so there's where you'd put the seller names. If you'd already set up your buyers in contacts, it would pre-populate your buyers' names here as well. And so that's one way to pull the seller's name and information. The other way would be back inside of, hold on, let me get this toolbar out of the way. Go buy a toolbar. All right, there we go. The other way is if you go into the MLS. So if they don't have disclosures there, then the next best way to track down the seller's information is, number one, you can always ask the listing agent, hey, who are the sellers on file and how do you want me to put it in there? Or you could come in here and find the APN number right here. It's a blue hyperlink for the APN number, which is the assessor's parcel number. If we click on that, it's going to pull up the tax information on that property for us. And it gives us the names of the sellers right there. Sometimes this isn't 100% accurate. So it's always a good idea to maybe shoot the listing agent over a text and be like, hey, I've got Jessica A. Flores and Eder A. Flores as the sellers on file. Is that accurate? Right? So it's always okay to ask. They're going to appreciate that. You can be like, hey, I'm drawing up my offer. I'm just confirming the seller's information so that you can plug it in there. So that's the other way to get the seller's information. If they have disclosures, that's the best way. If not, pull up this tax information and put it in there. I highly recommend that you don't just leave the seller information blank, because as a listing agent, we get really annoyed when we have to fill stuff in on your offer to make it complete instead of just sending it for signatures. So anyways, there is that information. That's how to do the MLS Connect, where to find the seller's information, why you would use the MLS Connect. Before I go on to my next little tip and trick, anybody have questions?
I do, Amy. It's Claudia again. So, so in the past, I would just do everything, I guess I use the old version, right? I put all the parties' info and then it populates on the forms. So yes. You're saying it can be done from this screen where on the top right, it says parties.
Yes. So
forms, it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yep. So right now, seller's name, seller number one is listed as seller one, and that's going to stay in there. The listing agent's going to be in there. My information is going to be in there. I could also come in here and hit add new party. Here's where I could add buyer one, buyer.
So when you put in the seller right there, seller one name, it's automatically on the first page or any of them. It automatically transfers that to all the other ones.
Yep. So
other
now
forms?
Yep, because now I put buyer information in there. It's got buyer number one that's now pre-populated onto all the forms.
Oh, nice. Okay, sweet. Okay, then we don't have to worry about that. Okay.
You don't have to
cool.
worry about it. So you don't have to go in earlier and add that. You can add it in here under the edit section. And then this is also, you can come in here and add like your buyer's email address. You could put that in here as well, and then just hit save. And now it's going to save that to your transaction.
Sweet. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before I hop on to other tips and tricks?
Can you, I know we have a lot of new agents. Can you do one class on the template on how to create the
Yeah.
templates again?
Yep. Create and edit templates. Absolutely.
You're the best.
Absolutely. All right. So the other tip and trick that I have is number one. So you've got parties. So Claudia mentioned that you've got where you can add the parties over here on the side, right? So we can add in additional parties, just add new parties. Here's where you can plug it in, right? First name, last name, and you would choose their role. So you've got all these different roles you could choose. Here, you could add those in. So that's one way to speed up the process inside of the editing format is with the parties. The other one, which we already touched on, is forms. This is where you can reorganize your forms inside this editor. You can add forms. You can pull things up from the transaction. We can add new forms. I showed you how to do that with either from the forms library, or you can upload them. So you've got that in there as well. Here's your listing info. So this already got populated because we pulled over that MLS Connect. I think if you hit import listing, it's going to pull up. So inside here, if you forgot to do MLS Connect, here you could pull it in as well, right? So we could just go, I just came in here to listing information. I hit import listing. Here's where you're going to select what kind of sale it is. Like this was a residential. You're going to put in your MLS user ID and password, and then plug in that MLS ID number here and hit the button for replace existing data with imported data, and then import. That'll override all that listing information, the listing agent, the listing brokerage, the address, the APN. It's going to import it with all the new information right here. So you can do it inside of this editor. This editor is fabulous, you guys. The new editor has so many options that we didn't have before. So it's fabulous. So you can, right here under listing information, you can pull that in through the editing program. Okay. The next one is the off.
Sorry,
Yeah.
did they make these improvements while it was down, or was this before it went down?
I believe all of this was before it went down. I just never paid any close attention to these other options. I always clicked like forms or tools. Like I never messed with anything over here because it was new, right? So it was like, oh, well, I know how to do this, and I knew I could add like multiple forms, but I didn't realize all the other benefits that you have inside of this. So I believe it's always been here. So the other option is offer info here. On offer info, we can fill in the information here that we want to put in the contract. So maybe we're going to offer 750,000. See, and as I put it in there, look, it's filling it in on the grid. Close the escrow date. I think this is going to give us like a specific date versus like days. I'm not sure. It left it there. So let's see if we didn't check that. Oh, so if we didn't check this, if nothing had been checked here, I've got my template set up to default to 30 days. But if we didn't check this box, then it would automatically fill this in based on what I put over here versus this. Okay. Possession date. If your possession date is going to be after the close of escrow date, you can fill that in here. So maybe close of escrow is going to be on the 29th, and we're going to give them until the 6th to move out. Here's your good faith deposit, right? So like 7,500 automatically fills it in on the form. The offer date, the offer expiration. If we're going to change that, you can put that in here. Maybe it's going to be like Monday. Oops, that wasn't this Monday. Monday. I can't believe it's going to be September 4th next Monday, right? So you've got some information in there that you can fill in. It doesn't have the full information, but it does have some for this top part of the grid that you can fill in. If we filled it in here, it should auto populate over here as well. So that's under offer info. Okay, if you close out, just so you know, if you double click it, it does close that window, so it makes your screen bigger for you. Or the other way to get rid of that is to hit the little X up here. Don't be afraid to hit the X, makes it go away so you can fill in the rest of your forms. The next section is clauses. So these clauses are fabulous. If you have something that you put into your contracts on a regular basis, you can come into clauses, and you can set this up in templates, or you can set it up right here in the editor. So here, there's global, library, office, or personal. There's not any set up in global, library, or office, but inside my personal, I have some. So I can come in here and hit clauses. If, let's say down here, I want to add the appraisal clause, this allows me to edit it. So maybe, you know, if the appraisal comes in below contract price, buyer to pay up to $20,000 over appraised value, not to exceed contract price. I've got that appraisal clause in here. So I could come in here, click on this box and hit add clause. And then I would go into personal, and then I can add this appraisal clause and hit insert, and it plugs that in. Okay. And this allows me that if I wanted to edit this, the template version of it, I could come over here and hit edit. And now the saved clause is going to be edited. Okay. So I can come in here and change this up. So you can also create a clause. So maybe you always use the First American Home Warranty value plus with fridge. I can create clause and put in First American Home Warranty. And then you could First American Home Warranty with value plus with fridge, hit save. Now, if I go back to my personal clauses, I have 3 saved over here. So if I come over here, I should be able to, let's see if it'll let me add a clause here. Oh, it won't let me add a clause here. That's so sad. No, that line won't. But over here I could, right? So I could come over here and go, hey, we want First American Home Warranty. We're going to insert that there. And then we would select just our service provider here, First American, right? So that's how you can utilize those clauses. You can add them in over here. So if there's something that you're constantly putting into your forms, you can, like here, we could go create clause, put ORTC, and then our clause would be Old Republic ORTC, Vacaville, NICOL. Hit save. Now I can come in here, hit add clause. Probably going to mess it up. And now that's always going to be in there. So instead of having to type it in, oops, it added it at the end. Hold on. Let's delete what was already in that box. So something that you're always putting in your forms, you can create those as clauses and it will save it. And instead of having to go into like the templates manager, you can set it up right here inside of the editor. So I often forget to save like clauses in my templates because I don't think of it unless I'm drawing up the contract. And then I'm like, oh man, I always put that in my contract, or I always put that in my listing agreement. Like this listing photos and inspections, agent to credit seller the cost of professional photos and any pre-listing inspections at close of escrow. Right. So I can put that into my listing agreement. It's saved there. So if it's not in my template or whatnot, I can just pull it over as a clause. Anybody have questions about those clauses?
Where would we be if we didn't have all this technology?
We would be where we were at, 2 weeks ago with no MLS. We would be sad. Very, very sad.
Right?
Right.
Back in the Stone Age.
The Stone Age. In my template, I have it set up that it auto populates my information here. So I don't ever have to insert in my information when it comes to this. So that's super handy as well. So anyways, so that's how you would use clauses. Tools down here. The tools are kind of cool. So the tools allow you to edit a form, right? So where does this come into play? This comes into play oftentimes like, right, the seller sends you over a counter offer and you're countering their counter offer. So that's where this comes into play a lot. You might want to add a text box for something that you forgot to add. So you just click on that text box, hit enter text. Here you can edit like the font size, the color. You know, on the old editor, you could go dark blue. It pretty much matched. This one doesn't have that same option. You can change the font up a little bit if you wanted to. I don't know why you would do that necessarily, but anyways, you could also make it bold and italic. And then if we just click on it, then you could put in the date, right? Or whatever it was that you want to put in there. Today is the 31st, 23. Yesterday I went to write a check and I could not remember what year it was. For the life of me, I wanted to write 2024 and I was like, that's not right. 08. It's not letting me type it in. Why does it hate me today? No. Here we go. All right. 31/23, right? So you can edit that text box. Anyways, what I was saying is, like, you know, like you go to do a counter offer, or like you've got a listing and you're putting it in to sign the RPA and to counter them. And this is a good way to put that X on the spot that says subject to the attached counter offer, is by adding the text box. Or maybe you've got like on the PG&E disclosure that Realty One Group has, maybe you need to put a name on there or a date or a transaction name or anything. This is the way to do it. Here under tools, you can do text box. You can also highlight things. So you can use your highlighter, highlight away. Oops, it didn't like what I highlighted. Right, so you can highlight things to draw attention to it. So be careful with that, because you don't want them just to read what you highlighted. So just be careful. But you can highlight things. You can also add text box. So there's some cool things you can do inside of tools right there with your forms. Any questions? Claudia, did you have a question? I see you're unmute, but I can't hear you. No. All right, we'll wait. I also have the chat box open. If your speaker's not working, you can always throw it in the chat box. But there are some cool things you can do inside of the new editor. You can edit multiple forms. Now, if let's say that I got distracted, I was waiting for my buyer to get back to me, so I kind of pre-drew up everything in here and edited it, and then now I'm waiting for them to call me back so I can finalize a couple things. I can hit save. And I can go back to my folder or just close out of zip forms completely. Now, if I go back into that transaction, I want to pull it back up again, just so you know, because a lot of people get this question. They're like, I don't know what to answer. So I'll show you here. If we go to open up any of the forms that were in that previous editing session, so like the residential purchase agreement, or I had the statewide buyer and seller advisory in there, we can open up the previous workspace, which means I don't have to go in there and select all of the forms again, or remember even what was in there. I can just be like, hey, let's double click on the California residential purchase agreement. You have the editor classic or the new forms editor. I'm going to click open in new forms editor. It should give me the option. It may not, because it's being stubborn today. Oh, here. So here's where I can start a new workspace or open my previous workspace. So if I start a new one, it's just going to open the residential purchase agreement. But see here on my previous workspace, it has the residential purchase agreement, my SBSA and my MCA, everything that I had in that previous one. It's going to pull right back open again. So I can just say, hey, open my previous workspace, pulls it right back up to where I left off. Super magical. So I don't have to add those forms back in. I don't even have to remember what I'd already added or where I was at. It pulls it all back in there with all the edits that have already been done. So that's what that question means when you go to open something up, or how to get back to a previous workspace. As long as you're selecting any of those forms that were in that previous workspace, it'll give you that option to either open a new one or open a previous one. Claudia's trying again. Nope. So anybody else have questions on any of the forms? Navigating this portion of the editor, using zip forms? Oh, do we have to hit save? It automatically saves, Claudia, to answer your question as you go through this. So if I were to come in here and make some changes, we're going to put in fire number 2 and hit back. Do you want to save your changes? Yes or no? Yes, I want to save my changes. So it'll always prompt you and make sure that you do that. So it'll prompt you to save. So, but it will prompt you. So you don't necessarily have to hit save. It's just, I don't hit save very often, but I do think it's a good practice to hit it every once in a while, just to make sure that your information is saved as it should be. Any other questions there? All right. From there, let's go back and open that again. Open a new forms editor. If you select more than one form, just so you know, so like where I checked those boxes at the beginning, it automatically opened the new forms editor, because there is no way in the Forms Editing Classic to open multiple forms. So anytime you select multiple forms, it's going to automatically, it's not going to give you the option of old versus new. Only if you select a single form will it give you that option. So in case you're not getting that option, you're like, why don't I get a choice? That's why. So anytime you select multiple,
So
it's going to, yeah.
So when you click on, you know, because you want to edit 3 forms, I've been having like issues when I click on them, like it doesn't open up. Like how do you get it to open up?
Yeah, so
After you click the 3 that you want to open, and you click on one of them and then it opens the 3?
No, so if you click on the 3, hold on, I'm gonna pop back over to the forms and select 3. All right, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. My computer feels overworked and underpaid. All right, so let's say we're going to open up the market conditions advisory. Oops, hold on. I double clicked on one. The wildfire disaster and the additional agent. So once I've selected those forms, then we want to come up here and hit open in forms editor, this button here on the top toolbar. That is what will cause it.
That's what I did not know.
Yep.
I'm like, why won't it open? Where's the button to open?
All right. From here, if we're inside here, we've got our workspace open. We've completed all of our edits. Now you can go straight from here into signing by just hitting prepare signing. This is going to, I always name my signing. So it always like selects a name for them, but maybe if we were submitting an offer, I would put, you know, maybe like 234 Sample Street offer, so that I know what's inside that signing package, seller disclosures, whatever it might be. I kind of give it a name. So when I go back through and look at those folders, I know what's in the folder. I don't select a return folder. It's going to create its own. And then you hit create. That's going to take you over to whatever.
If you had like those 3 documents and it's like 3 different forms that you're having somebody sign, like a contingency removal, like an amendment and something else, like would you just name it those 3 things so that you know? Or I mean, whatever's going to help you remember, right? But
whatever's going to help you remember. So I won't like list all the forms in there. I'll just identify it as whatever is going to trigger like contingency removal or repair request or whatever the main form was that I was sending out with that block of signatures. Okay. So here it's opened up the signing. So it pulled over all the documents that were in that workspace. So I didn't have to click the boxes. I didn't have to do anything. I just hit prepare for signing, and it pulls all those over. Now, maybe there was something that I forgot to take out of the file that I didn't want them to sign right now. I can come down here to docs on the right-hand side of the page, and here's where you can either reorder them or you can remove them as well. So you just clicked on it, you can rename it, you can replace it, or you can remove it. So here I'm just going to hit remove file, and it's going to take that document out of this file. So that's how to take something out when you're inside of signatures. If you want to add something, we just click add document or form. Here's where you can add things directly from your transaction. It'll show you with a green check mark what's already in here. And maybe I want to add that wildfire disaster back in. I just click add. Or if I forgot something, I could upload or import something. From here is where I could upload or import. Like if we were doing a counter offer, I could import the seller's counter offer that was sent to me into here so that we can sign it and check the little box subject to the attached counter offer. And so I can upload it right from here as well. Okay, so there's lots of options there where you can upload things. Okay, so if you didn't add it to the document previously, here you can add your signers. This signing order, if you click this box to on, if you toggle that on, just so you know, it's going to send it in whatever order you have the participants in your transaction when we add participants to the signing folder. So like if it was me, Adriana, and Amanda, and I was first, Adriana and Amanda aren't going to be notified they have something to sign until after I have signed it. Once I've signed it, then it's going to go to signer number 2, which is Adriana. She's going to get notified. And then after she signs it, it's going to go to Amanda as signer number 3. Where does that come into play and why would you use that? For the most part, I never turn signing order on. Where it comes in as a convenience factor is maybe I've got some clients that are using the same email address. So maybe the husband and wife use the same email address. It's better to do a signing order in that scenario because then they get one email notification notifying that, you know, Amanda needs to sign. And then after Amanda signs, they're going to get a second email that says, oh, now it's time for Adriana to sign. Okay, so that's where I use that signing order. Otherwise, I leave it turned off. And then here's where you can add participants. So here's where you could add yourself, or from transactions, or from contacts, right? So you can add yourself, new, contacts, or transaction. So if I hit from transaction, here I want to add the selling agent, I want to add the buyer, and I don't have buyer 1 on here because I typed buyer 1 in, I don't know why it doesn't have buyer 1 in here. That's interesting. So I'm going to hit select. It's going to add those 2 people in there. And then we're going to try again. Does it just not have a buyer 1? Signer type, role. Oh yeah, there we go. Buyer 1. All right. Buyer. So if we didn't have somebody in there, we could add them in now with their email address. Buyer. There we go. Good thing it auto-populated. You can add to transactions. So if I click this button here, it's going to take this person and add them into the transaction. So they'll always show up in the transaction after that. And we're going to hit save. So there, this one's got a red exclamation point because it doesn't have an email. So if you ever get something like that, if you click on it, it's going to say, oh, you needed an email address in there. Buyer 2. Oh, let's go buyer 2. And we're going to update transaction contact so that it adds that email in so I don't have to enter it in the future. So we're just going to check that little box for update. So now it's got them in there. For your forms that you pull over directly from your forms library, it automatically populates those signatures. If for some reason it doesn't map the signatures appropriately, this map signers right here, we just click that button. It'll say, hey, you've got buyer 1 here. Here's who you've got for buyer 2. We're not putting sellers in there or listing agent. And then the selling agent you have here, assign signature blocks. It'll go back in there and make sure it assigns those signature blocks. So it'll put the signatures and the dates in there. I still, just so you know, even if all these forms have been pulled over from Zip Forms, I always just scroll through it and make sure everything is where it should be. Right? So I'm just looking for those signatures on each page. Okay. If we needed to add signatures or anything, so we already talked about how to add documents down here, how to reorganize them, how to take them out. here's where we have our tools. That's where we have our signature line. So if we wanted to add for buyer number 2, the sign here, we just take it and drag it over there. If you just click on it, it's just going to put it in the middle of the page. You've got signatures, you've got initials, you can add where they have to fill in text. You can add check boxes, initial choice, initial pages, radio choice, right? Drop downs, or you can put in, like, maybe they forgot to put in the name of the signer. How does it look for the arbitration? That's a good question. I've never actually even paid attention to it in here. So let's, we're going to add a document from our thing here. We're going to come in here and add the California Residential Purchase Agreement. Close. Okay. Oh, it did go ahead and map them. I was going to say, see, it didn't map them, so we need to map, but it did. So it automatically, I pulled that form in here. It automatically matched up the signature blocks with those signature lines. So we're going to scroll down to look at the arbitration. So on the arbitration, it puts it on there, and I think it makes it a required. I'm not sure this one gives you, like, if you pull it into DocuSign. Oh, it does not say required here. Oh, there, if it's required, it gets a red. Oh, okay, cool. So see how these have red outlines? So it works the same as DocuSign, whereas when it auto-populates here, see how buyer 2 doesn't have a red outline and buyer 1 does, because I made it required. So that's how you change that out, the required versus not. So it shows up as optional. Like it should, technically, it should be an optional signature block for your buyers to look at and read. If you want to toggle between the buyers or sellers or whoever the parties are, we just toggle here, and then you can select a different signer. Now it changes colors. See how they're all color coded. So then we can add, another signature block there. If we realize we're scrolling through this form, setting up those signatures, and we realize, oh my gosh, I forgot the date on this form. No big deal. Down here at the bottom is markup. These are boxes that aren't going to be assigned to anybody. We just take that text box, click it up here, put in today's date. Oops. And there you've got the date now that'll stay printed. It's not going to prompt anybody to change it or sign it or do anything for you there. Right? So you've got lots of choices. If, like down here, if we scroll down, if my name wasn't here, then I could come down and put full name, and it's just going to populate my name. So that's a really easy way, like on counter offers or whatnot. If they didn't put your client's names in there, you can just drag them over and plug them in there. You can plug in the person's email address, right? Auto date, auto time. So you've got lots of options inside there. And again, just to toggle between those, you would just do it here. Okay. If like I click on this box here, maybe I'm like, oh man, I forgot to toggle between the buyer and myself, and this is supposed to be a buyer signature block. If I click on it, I can come up here and select that should be buyer number 2, and then it changes who owns that box to the other person. So you don't have to delete it and re-add it. You can just click on it and change the ownership of that box in each box individually if you mess up. I do that a lot. Any questions so far about tools, docs, signers? You can add layouts, right? Create layouts. So maybe you want to create a layout where you plug in something and you match it up, right? So maybe we want to do this. We're going to create this residential purchase agreement. So you can create that. And then like if I were to pull in, maybe it was a listing, I pull in the residential purchase agreement, I can set it up to pre-place. It's like a template. You can set it up to pre-place the seller's signature blocks on there so that you can utilize it as a template. You don't have to drag all those over. I haven't messed with this a whole lot, but I know it does exist and that you can do it. So, right, so now I've got those layout options in there. So I could say, hey, apply layout, create layout, manage layouts. And then you would pick the document, right? And be like, hey, on this one here, you've got system layouts or ones that I've created. So you can auto apply that layout on there. Maybe we should try it. Who wants to try it? I want to try it. So let's go add document or form. I'm sure I've got something in my, click here to upload. I'm sure I've got it on my computer. Yay. Oops. Oh, let's do the seller counter offer. That one looks like more fun anyways. All right, so we're going to plug in a seller counter offer here. And then we're going to set it up. All right, so now scroll down to that seller counter offer. All right, so now if I go layout and hit layout options, apply layout, and we want, oh no, I would have to create it. So they have very few ones in here. So I would need to create that template ahead of time. And then you could apply it and it would automatically apply like the buyer's signature to that seller counter offer instead of me dragging them over. But that's how that would be utilized. There's that. So, okay. So let's, just for kicks, let's go. We've got signers. Nobody's got, I've got the real one, but anyways, we're going to hit next. So once we've got all of our signature blocks on there, you're going to hit next. It's thinking really hard. Processing. Here's where it would send up like either expiration or reminders. So this expires on 9:30, 11:59 p.m. So it expires in a month. And then we could set like, hey, remind my people every morning at 9 a.m. to go in there and sign that, right? You could also do customized invites by clicking this button where you can put in a different subject and the custom message that you want for each individual person, or you can leave it at the default and then you're going to hit send. Okay, so that's how you send out the signature blocks. Now, what I'm going to show you, because this one's really tricky on this, when you don't use DocuSign, when it's on this Authentisign, which I like. Authentisign is free. That's why I'm showing you this. It's free. DocuSign costs money. This is free, and I'm all about free. So, it's a little funky on how to like cancel a signing package. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because that's usually where we get hung up, how to change it, or maybe the email address was wrong or something. So once we're in here, we're inside our folder. If we go over here to where it says e-sign, actually, no, if we go over here up at the top where it says summary, parties, documents, checklist, notes, e-sign, go to e-sign. That's going to pull up your e-sign window. This is going to show you which packages are outstanding or completed. See, it says this one is sent. And if I want to edit this one, you can't. So here it has, you can edit the email addresses from here. So if I needed to fix this email address, I can just hit that and then hit save. So that's a really easy way to change that email address up without having to open up the whole package or edit the whole package. Now, if I wanted to edit the package, I could come up here to these action items. Here you can resend invitations. So if you want to remind them to get in there and sign it, or they're like, I didn't get it. This is usually, I come in here, double check the email address, and then you can hit resend invitations, or you could add a CC. Maybe you want to add your transaction coordinator to the file so that they get a copy of the completed documents once they're signed, or something like that. You can add a CC. It won't prompt them to sign them, but they will get the chance to review them. This is oftentimes, I utilize that, like if you've got a husband and a wife or more than one buyer, well, not more than one buyer, but you've got more than one party to the transaction, but oftentimes, like sometimes the wife or the spouse isn't on the purchase contract. Doesn't mean they don't want to see the documents. They just may have something going on with their credit or whatever that We don't want them on that contract. We can add them as a CC so they can still see the documents. They can review the documents. The husband and wife can have a conversation about them, but they won't be prompted for signatures. So that's how to do it. You can add the CC there. You can also do this without opening it up. So if we come over here to the little drop down, you got resend invitations, reset, duplicate, or signing details. So signing details is how you're going to get in there to that window we just opened. It'll also show you who signed and who hasn't signed. So if you're ever wanting to know where it's held up, it'll tell you whether they've opened it. And then this is whether they've completed the process. So authenticated is they've opened it and looked at it. Approved is they've completed that process. Okay, so that's how to see what's going on with each of our people. If you want to edit the package, you're going to hit or cancel the package. You have to go in here and hit reset. I know that doesn't make sense, but just remember this, commit it to memory, reset. This will reset the signing data. All documents will be lost if you continue. It just means that, like, hey, if somebody's already signed, they're going to have to re-sign. Yes, we want to continue. It's going to reopen up that signature package. Here you can make changes. Maybe you missed a signature or two. You can go in there and finish up and add those missing signatures in there. Or if we hit back, you can save, don't save. It doesn't matter if you didn't make any changes. Now, when we go back to that e-signing page on our transaction, we are going to have the option to be able to get rid of that signing folder. So maybe they decided to make a change to their offer. So you're going to resend it back out for signatures with a different offer. This is how you would go in there and void that file. Okay, so we go in there. We're going to go back to e-sign. I'm going to try not to click 20 times while waiting for it to open. There we go. All right. Here, now, instead of saying sent, it says draft. And from there, we can go in here and hit delete. And that's how you would get rid of that file or void it out. Are you sure you want to delete this item? Yes. And now it's gone. And now you can send out that new one and they won't be confused with multiple emails of which one they're supposed to sign. Any questions about the e-signatures using the AuthentiSign for your signature packet? Claudia still has no volume. I don't know why your microphone doesn't like you this morning, Claudia, but you can throw it in the chat box. Well, we're waiting to see if she throws it in there. So that's all. I just wanted to open Q&A. I just wanted to show you some little tips and tricks for navigating inside of Zip Forms, how to pull that data in there, how to utilize the new editing, which gives you so many more options than the old one. And then also how to send it through the free e-signature. That's really going to help you as far as getting things through. And I know that question comes up a lot, is how do you delete a package in here? Because it's the fact that you have to hit reset is silly in all honesty, but that's what you have to do. So remember, reset gives you the option to go in there and either edit, or then you can delete that old signature packet. Once you've got signature packets, so remember when I went in there to set up that signature packet, it gave me the option then to create a folder. And I said, I don't create a folder. I don't pinpoint a folder. It'll create its own. So this is what it looks like. Just so you know, once you've got a transaction and you've sent things through for signatures. All right. So here's all the documents in the file. Here's some PDFs I uploaded. And then here are the signature folders, right? So request for repairs. This has the BRE amendment. There's 4 disclosures in here. So it's got those folders in there for things that were signed. So just so you know, that's where you would find it. If I open this up here, it's got all of the documents that were signed at that time, and it's the PDF signed version of that document. So that's where it'll create the folder based on what was set up as the name of that signing. That's why I don't like to just be signature packet number 1, signature packet number 2, because it gets really confusing really quick of what was what, where now I can scan through this file. And then also once I am inside this folder, it lists them here so I can toggle between those different folders really easily inside of here as well to access those signed forms. So that's what it looks like once you've sent out some signature packets. And you've got it in there. Claudia's back.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Can you hear
I
me?
can.
Yay. So I just want to make sure. So for the reset signing package, that can be done with DocuSign too. I mean, it's done in zip forms, but I mean, will it translate to DocuSign as well?
No, so DocuSign works a little differently. So that's just for AuthentiSign. With DocuSign, it's going to give you a different option. So it'll still show your signature packets there, but your best bet if you need to edit a DocuSign package is to log into DocuSign directly. And then inside of DocuSign, it'll give you the option to either void it, delete it, or edit the package. So if you're utilizing DocuSign and you want to change something, exit zip forms and go directly log into DocuSign to do it inside of DocuSign.
Okay.
Unless they've updated it. It's been probably a year since I've used DocuSign, but it was to edit it, you always had to go directly into DocuSign. You could create the signature packet in here. You could add the signatures, add people. I think you can even edit email addresses in here, but to actually edit the package, we had to log into DocuSign directly.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? I really appreciate everyone joining us. I hope you found this beneficial and helpful. Hope you learned something new today. Make sure you log your attendance. I'm sure that'll pop up in the chat box right there, like on cue. It's like magic. And then also the new schedule will be coming out. So remember, no trainings next week. We're taking a bye week in honor of Labor Day. I am not laboring. And then we will come back the next week. Our Tuesday classes, though, they're going to move to 10:30. So Tuesdays at 10:30 and then Wednesdays and Thursdays at 9. I was going to try to make them all at the same time, but because we have the Association of Realtors meeting on Tuesdays at 9, I didn't want to interfere with that. I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to attend that either on Zoom or in person and still have time to hop onto Zoom for our trainings. So we're honoring that because it's always good to be involved in the local association meetings. But then, so starting not next week, but the next week, it'll be Tuesday at 10:30, Wednesday at 9, and Thursday at 9. And Thursdays, we're continuing our forms series. So we'll always be covering some sort of forms. I'm sure that schedule will be out next week. So you can see the full schedule. What do we have? September, we're kind of visiting the buyers. We'll talk lead gen and buyers. October, we're going to dive into setting yourself up for success in 2024. This is probably why I can't remember what year it is because I've been thinking 2024 already. So October, we're going to talk about your goals and values and setting your business plan and how to develop that and what it would look like, and then how to set your business plan up for success and break it down into weekly actions. Time blocking. So we're going to talk about all that in October so that you're set up and rolling to hit your goals for 2024. If you're like, Amy, it's only October. I know, but if we put it in October, then you start implementing it in November. Then we put in the contract, what needs to be put in contract in December to close in January so that we hit the year off right. And then in November, so that was September, October, November, and December, we're going to dive into and talk about seller transactions. And then we have a few things sprinkled in, like we've got some forms trainings in there. We're going to have some title company trainings in there. So there's some other things sprinkled in. And if you want to see anything, make sure you throw it in that attendance box where it says recommended training. So it hits the calendar at some point. And then I'm working on scheduling out our special trainings for September, October, and November for those monthly upper level trainings that we've had, like the YouTube and the SEO and the Chat GTP and the foreclosures. I'm hoping to find somebody. I would like not to teach it. So I'm trying to find somebody who's been really successful with Facebook ads. and boosting posts and that type of thing. And then I'm also wanting to bring somebody in to talk about how they got started with investment properties and investing in real estate, because I think that's important for our agents to know about, building wealth. So we're gonna have some discussions around that over the next couple of months. So I'm just working on finding the leaders for those sessions. So anyways, that's what's coming up in the next few months. Holler at me if you guys need anything or have any questions, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.